Welcome to Jasmine's First Impression Sports Talk. Tonight we have a great show for you in store, and I have my amazing panelist, Jeremiah. We're going to dive into some serious topics regarding the Lakers and their struggles lately, and also the crazy weekend in college football. So let's get started.
Welcome to Jasmine Pollock's First Impression Sports Talk, the fastest growing sports talk show in the country. And now, here's your host, Jasmine Pollock.
Welcome back to Jasmine's First Impression Sports Talk. To start the night off, we're going to talk about the Los Angeles Lakers. Over the offseason, we saw the Lakers acquire big name people like Russell Westbrook and getting back Dwight Howard, and also signing DeAndre Jordan from the Brooklyn Nets, and also Carmelo Anthony. Lately, they have not been looking like the team that we were expecting to be. They were one of the favorite teams to win it. And right now they are at 11-11. They're at 500 and they are sitting below, I think, at number 9 in the Western Conference currently. So Jeremiah, I want to start with you. What do you think right now? What is the issue going on with the Lakers?
Well, when it comes to my assessment, the Lakers, they lack a huge thing, and that's finishing games. When it always comes to the third quarters, they always struggled, especially even before when it came to their, those defense times. After halftime, they would be up and they would just, blow away through the whole game because they are capable, each and every one of them. Westbrook, LeBron, AD, and just et cetera. From the bench, you got contributing. But then it's like the lackluster of just too much of relax. They let these teams come back, and it's going on for the longest time. And I can blame it so much on each and every player because they're at a higher standard when it comes to those. But I also put that stuff on the coach as well because you see this constantly day in and day out, that this is constantly going on, and they already know, oh, the Lakers not going to keep this lead because they're going to lose it again. And to me, they need to crack down on that because, to be honest, the teams that they have close wins on, or the 1 or 3 point losses, they can blow these teams out the water if they wanted to. It's just all about them executing all the way into the end.
I agree with that, and I think one of the biggest things for me, one of my biggest takeaways from the Lakers' struggles right now is definitely their defense. And defense, we always hear the saying, defense wins championships. So it's very, puzzling to see the Lakers with some star-studded players that are very good on defense are not playing to their best defensive ability. And I feel that I'm starting to see, however, there's a positive trend of you're starting to see all of the players like the big three, AD, LeBron, and Westbrook, they're starting to consistently score over 20 points each game. So that's a big deal there. You're getting huge contributions from that team. And it's not a problem with them scoring. It's not an issue of that. It's them finishing games, like you said, and playing defense against these other teams. You should not be hanging in there with the Pistons team. This team probably not going to the playoffs. They're one of those lower deck teams. The Lakers should be. Those are the teams where okay, we're just having fun here. You're trying to compete for championships. When you bring Russell Westbrook back, when you bring AD, when you have LeBron, when you bring all those weapons that they have, when you bring Melo back, when you bring Dwight back, when you bring um, Jordan back, you are competing for championships. And there's this thing of, okay, we want to see them versus Brooklyn. Now it's Golden State who's dominating. Now it's the Suns that are dominating. Then you look at the Miami Heat. Then you look at the Brooklyn Nets. So the Lakers right now are not playing to the best of their ability to me, and it needs to happen quickly because LeBron doesn't, even though LeBron is one of the greatest athletes, one of the greatest NBA players we've ever seen, there's going to be a time where the man is getting older. He's in his 19th season. That a lot of guys cannot do that. And for him to and he's still playing at a high level, which is insane to me. But when you have a guy like that and you bring all these guys in, there's championships expected to have, especially being a Laker. That is a championship town. So it's a big deal that they need to play better defense and they need to be a lot more aggressive. And I feel like they haven't been. But do you think that they can win with Russell? Because there's always been a question of, Russell Westbrook may be holding them back. But do you think that's the case, Jeremiah?
I know many people are skeptical about that. Many people say it's no way that it can happen. It's been proven on each and every team constantly back to back to back. But in my opinion, I'm not giving up on that because I do think that they can win a championship. Russell right now needs, and I can say the last 4 to 5 games, he has been picking it up. That he has been putting up consistent numbers back to back. Of course, you had your small turnovers and everything else, but it's becoming more less and less as you go on through the games because I can see the big three within Russell Westbrook, LeBron, and AD. They're getting more of that chemistry going, and you can kind of see that stuff even happening. As Vogel just changing more of the lineup right now to not have what he used to do before, with having Russell and Rondo on the floor because taking up those type of things because those things don't match. Having these guys out there with each other is only going to build up more of the chemistry. It's going to allow for them to understand their placing and what they need to do in order to hit that next step. So I'm not panicking when it comes to Russell and actually, them having a chance to actually get to that next step to win a championship because they are plenty of capable abilities for them to even do that. And I don't think that it's going to take always LeBron each and every game to have always a 30 piece and everything else. I think they're going to figure those things out with AD being more aggressive these last few games and everybody playing their part, especially the bench with Melo giving you great points. And you also have Monk coming in, and not to mention the different contributing that you guys have. Like, this team can go a long way. They just have to pull the pieces together at the end.
Yeah, most definitely. I agree with that. And it's not like the Lakers can't get back into it, which I believe they can. When you have LeBron James, and we've seen what LeBron James has done for the course of his career, there's teams that he's been on that we're just like, how did he get this team to this stage and this level? So it's not like they can't do it. I believe the Lakers can turn it around. But it all starts with the defense. It needs to start with them finishing games. They can score with anyone. That's not the question. It's, can you defend? Can you keep these teams out of the game and not allow these teams to come back and losing to teams that you don't need to lose to, actually. So we're definitely going to see what the Lakers are going to do. And I still have them, going far. I still have them being the favorites just based off what they have and who LeBron James is and different things like that. But there are teams out there that look very scary, as Golden State, the Suns. There's a lot of teams in the West that, that could give them fits if they do not fix what needs to be fixing right now. But that wraps up the first segment. We're going to be back with a short break right here on Jasmine's First Impression Sports Talk.
Water. It's everywhere. We drink it, we bathe with it, we cook with it. Coffee's made with water. Toilets won't flush without it. It's used for washing clothes, dishes, utensils, pots, pans, floors, and our teeth. Plants and crops need water, animals drink it, and fish need it too. And don't forget, we can have a lot of fun in the water. Water. What will we do without it? You're watching Jasmine Pollock's First Impression Sports Talk. Stay in touch with Jasmine on her social media channels to see videos, featured guest interviews, and much more. Find Jasmine on LinkedIn by searching Jasmine Pollock. On Instagram, it's at GameSpace_sports. And you can find Jasmine on YouTube by searching GameSpace Sports Content. First Impression Sports Talk airs each Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern. You can see the show live on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook. If you missed the live show, we have you covered. A recorded version is always available on social media. And now, back to more First Impression Sports Talk.
Welcome back to Jasmine's First Impression Sports Talk. The second segment we're going to get into is college football. It has been a crazy weekend. Saturday was full of amazing games with a lot of your great and top athletes from all across the country competing for championships in rivalry week. It's one of the biggest sporting events in the world. And obviously, I was proud that my Gators won. We're bowl eligible. We beat Florida State, our in-state rivals. We saw a great game between Alabama and Auburn, and then the big game in the big house against with Michigan and Ohio State, and Michigan finally getting over that hump and being Ohio State. Jeremiah, I want to start with this. When you look at college football right now, and when you look at the Georgias, the Alabamas, the Michigans now, maybe Cincinnati in there, what teams right now do you say, after watching this weekend and the teams that we're expecting to be like that top five, what teams look dangerous to you right now?
Right now, the teams I would have really being the biggest threat to me, I would have it would be Georgia, of course, Cincinnati, and I would say probably Michigan, because if anything, my top team will always be to me Georgia, because at the same time Georgia, they look the most dominant right now at the number one spot. They can actually move to that different level, and actually I have them to beat Alabama this Saturday. They are a lock right now, especially from their defense, to have that wall that they have, to have that maintaining of that whole time. You don't really see too much college teams this year have that, to be at that consistent week in and week out as Georgia is doing right now. And for them to have that, that top spot that they at right now, it just doesn't take just within games and everything. For I would say Cincinnati should also be in that top position as well, because when it comes to Cincinnati, they have been overlooked, especially by the committee. They don't think that their wins are, always valuable and everything else that they represent. But I think that teams as Georgia and Cincinnati are the biggest threat right now in that whole top four.
For me, when it comes to Georgia, I've been saying this before, that Georgia has been the most dominant team in college football throughout the course of the season. Defensively, I believe they're the number one defense in the nation. They swarm after the ball. They create turnovers. They prevent you from scoring. They are a very scary unit on that side of the ball. And offensively, they can go down the field just as much as anybody. They can score. They have a good running game, good receivers that can get up there and catch, and they have speed on the outside. So Georgia is a very, very deep team. They're a very scary team. And, with Kirby Smart leading them, we forget Kirby Smart was the defensive coordinator for Alabama a few years ago when they were still winning their championships, and their defense was obviously stellar. So he brought that philosophy to Georgia, and, Georgia's going to have the athletes. They're going to have the athletes to go compete in the SEC and even bigger. And I think Georgia is on a mission this year. They are, and I hate to say that as a Gators fan, but they are on a mission right now. They are on a mission to compete not just for the championship, but win the championship in great fashion. But one team, what I saw was this Michigan team. Now, everybody overlooked this Michigan team. I feel like, Ohio State at the number one offense in the country. And we were just wanting to see how would Ohio State match up with Georgia being the number one offense versus the number one defense. That was like going to be box office, I feel. But Michigan had that, chip on the shoulder. We haven't beat Ohio State in a decade, I believe. And even Jim Harbaugh, he still had that, that's that question, like, can you beat Ohio State? And he hasn't. He was 0 for 5 before the game. And Michigan came in there, and those guys played their hearts out. And honestly, Michigan's defense is good as well, and they're going to be a team. If they can run the ball like that, how they did against a very good Ohio State team, who everyone thought is going to be that team to beat, they're going to be something to mess with also, and it's going to be very dangerous for a lot of teams. Then you can look at Alabama. We know what Alabama stands for, even though I feel like this is not the strong Alabama team we're used to seeing. I feel like I don't think Alabama will go to the championship. I do not. I feel that Georgia's going to beat them in the SEC championship, and Georgia's going to secure their spot in the Final Four. But this leads to the conversation. When you said Cincinnati, there's a lot of teams that are in the top 10 who are very good teams, but they're not going to push those teams nowhere near the top four because of, the conference they play in, the strength of schedule, just different things like that. I mean, even based on their name, they probably don't. Cincinnati, okay, they're having a good season. Oh well, you know what I'm saying. So I feel like they're gonna, okay, we'll keep you guys right here, and I feel like um, if and I see the comment, if Georgia and Michigan lose, which would be huge, that would be insane. You could still see, of course, Alabama's going to go back to number one. Ohio State may ink back, and then Cincinnati is still out there hanging out there. But there's so many teams that are out there that are very good teams in the top 10, and they will never get that chance to even make it to five or even make it to the four. But I feel like that leads to the conversation of, should we extend the college football playoffs instead of making it just the two big games? Make it 8 games. Like, I want to see all those teams, make it 8 teams where they're competing and seeing all that those talented athletes on the field. That's what I want to see. And I think as years go on, as we're going to see that happen. But Jeremiah, do you feel like, based off of what you're seeing this year from all these teams in the top 10, does this now strengthen that we should have a much bigger playoff system?
I believe, especially with so many talented teams that's actually in that whole conference, but especially in that whole poll, it's so hard to kind of have that prediction of just having it, or if you have one loss that you have to drop all the way down, or just maybe 2 losses. There's so many good teams we have, and like ability to actually compete in the playoffs and not just always bowl games. Just like each and every year, you always see a team like Alabama or always up there. I just want to see, something new, so something, fresh and stuff that's always competitive. These schools all the time, put their blood and sweat, especially on the fields when they be playing. And I know the committee and everybody, they look at certain schools and they be like, oh, they didn't play anybody. They don't play anybody all the time. But how about you let them play some people that they're qualified to have to take to that next step for them to even be in the playoffs, and maybe go further to be a new franchise of a team. Because I'm not putting nothing against Alabama, because they're a very disciplined football team and everything else, but I think that a lot of football sports fans, they're looking for that new team, the new upcoming, dogs, that's coming off from behind. And I feel like the community, they needs to give more people the chance and kind of expand the playoffs. Just to
Yeah,
me.
I agree, but I think um, the breaking news, I wanted to get into this, of Oklahoma Sooners coach Lincoln Riley going to USC. And now, also breaking news, about an hour ago, LSU hired Notre Dame's coach. This is crazy. Like, we're seeing a lot of teams, a lot of these coaches leaving. Even my Gators coach, we signed Billy Napier. I like that hire. But Jeremiah, we were talking about this earlier, about Lincoln Riley leaving Oklahoma to go to the Pac-12 and go play for, or go coach for USC. What was your take on that? Because I know we talked about that a little bit, but what is your take on it?
Well, my take on it is Riley, he cowered out, because to be honest with you, he no one knows, especially in OU, especially when it came to the media. We did not know that he was going to up and leave after this last loss that Oklahoma had. When it came to this team, you would think in the beginning of the season,
I think we lost Jeremiah there, but what we were alluding to about the Oklahoma Sooners is, there was always talk, even I think a year back, where they were talking about the Sooners and Texas joining the SEC. And Lincoln Riley is a good coach. He's a very offensive minded coach, and we notice he does not care about defense. Out of all the years he's been at Oklahoma, it's always been throwing down the field, high flying offenses, but the defense was never good. And Oklahoma has had years in the past where they've had good defenses. And when we see him go to leave completely, and I had no idea that was an option. Like, I didn't know he was going to leave, period. We're starting to see, what Lincoln Riley is about. Because now I feel like when you look at the Pac 12 is still kind of up and coming. The Pac 12 is still trying to be rebuilt, even the USC. USC was one of that juggernaut team in the past. That was one of those biggest college football teams in the country at the time. And you bring somebody like Lincoln Riley back. Of course, he's going to revive the offense, but defensively, I do not think he is going to revive that. I don't think that's happening. And I've noticed a trend that a lot of those teams, like the Oklahomas, the Texas, those teams like that, they're all for offense when these teams were used to be a very good team a long time ago. And we try to see, okay, the fans want to see them dominate. They want to see, okay, we want to have offense, but defensively, we had great defensive teams before. And I feel like Lincoln Riley, he went over there and he got paid a lot. He got paid a lot with USC. And now Oklahoma is now in shambles. There's a lot of people leaving. There's a lot of people entering the transfer portal. And there's even talks of him taking that whole coaching staff with him to USC. But it's a big deal for USC. That's a good thing for them that they have Lincoln Riley, an offensive-minded guru like him. But I feel like in that whole conference, it's nothing but offense. And then when you run up on those teams like the Alabamas, like the Georgias, like the Ohio States and Michigans that can play sound football on both sides, it's going to be very tough for them to win. And we've seen Lincoln Riley in the playoffs in Oklahoma. They do not do well at all. They allowed there was 40 points, 60 points, and I believe another, I think 50 in the past couple of years when they played, when he had Jalen Hurts, when he had Kyler Murray, and when he had Baker Mayfield. So we're definitely going to see what USC is going to look like. And I think there's a lot going on in college football. There's so many coaches leaving that we didn't figure were leaving. It's going to be a big deal. So I'm really excited to see it. And just, it's been a crazy year in sports. But that wraps up tonight's show. Thank you, audience, for being here and giving your support. Thank you, Leon. Thank you, Jay. Thank you, Jeremiah, for being a part of this. It's always great to have a team behind me that supports me. And we will see you here on Jasmine's First Impression Sports Talk. So you guys have a wonderful night.